Frank. What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Hey, we gonna party tonight or what?
Yeah, we are gonna party.
Well, where are we gonna party?
I don't know, somewhere.
Hey, we could go to the park.
Oh, no, we can't. The cops said they'd shoot us if we go back to the park.
Yeah, and I ain't in no mood to die tonight.
I like death.
So greetings, ghouls, and welcome to minute 43 of Do You Want to Party, the Movies by Minute podcast for the 1985 groundbreaking horror classic, The Return of the Living Dead. I'm your host, Troy, and joining me for this episode is the TK to my Mandalorian,
Daniel.
Hello there, Daniel.
TD 2519.
Yes, exactly. You know what? I was gonna say, I wonder if I remember his number. I'm like, there's no idea that I can remember. You know what? I'd probably be able to find it somewhere online easily enough, but I figured you throw it in there anyway. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this particular minute is going to start. It starts with Ernie giving the details of the situation and ends with slow-mo through the graveyard.
Dun, dun, dun. Getting to the good stuff.
Exactly. So Ernie continues his call for assistance. Slowly through the rest of the shot, we zoom in closer to Ernie's face. He starts by looking towards the three men on the opposite side of the room. And then he relays the address of where the help is needed.
Funeral home at 21702 East Central.
Then, turning to look down to the phone, he informs the person on the other line the most appropriate place to arrive.
Well, tell him to come around the back to the embalming room.
After a short break, clearly being asked a question we, the audience, don't hear. At the time, Ernie again looks towards the others in the room and stumbles as to what to say. Sounding like he's gathering his thoughts, he then stutters out the cause of the emergency.
Poisoning. We have 2 men poisoned here.
Again, looking away from Bert, Frank, and Freddy, as he explains further on the situation.
Well, no, we don't know what kind of poison.
Another pregnant pause, and Ernie confesses the unknown equation of the incident. Then, once the camera is nice and close to Don Calfa, we see in the background details of a hanging flypaper strip, which is densely populated with the many fly corpses at the edge of the window frame. Then there's a thunder and lightning strike flashing through the blind covering that window, which is by his desk. He then ends his phone call with an appreciation of their services and hangs up the phone.
Right. Thank you very much. Bye.
Then, after a mild huff, he informs his friend of the impending arrival.
Bert, they're on their way.
So meanwhile, back in the car, cooler heads have prevailed as Suicide continues to start his vehicle. The familiar no power grind/revving sound, with the background of rain still falling upon the soft top roof. Angrily defeated, Suicide announces the non-moving situation of the vehicle.
And this car ain't going nowhere.
The 5 others have their own separate reactions, from Chuck showing despair, and Spider disappointment, Scuzz concern, and Trash sadness, ending with Casey hushing everybody. It's at this minute that we witness to Trash holding a cloth against her chest, clearly having removed it from Casey's waist from the previous minute. Casey addresses the group about the noise outside. Everyone takes a pause to listen.
Damn it.
Shh. Do you hear something?
But looking from the front seat at Casey, in the back seat, Spider questions her inquiry.
You're what?
Her answer being,
Something.
Now we are once again in the cemetery, the camera flowing through the rained-on tombstones. The background music sounding like an eerie organ. The camera floats over headstones and flies between them, showing off the muddy grass still being drowned by the trioxin-infused rain. Every surface is slick with water, the camera swaying back and forth as it continues to travel through the densely packed marble and stone. Soaked moss hanging from a slate cross, weaving around in a slow, dreamlike manner. Slowly rising up to the mix with the creepy organ is more sounds. After listening for a moment, it's the muffled moans and cries slowly becoming louder to match the musical accompaniment. And that's where we end this minute.
Yeah. It's a mood setting scene
It
to really put home. It's an eerie setting that they're walking into. It's a lot going to come. And the music just really sets the tone
Yep.
quite nicely.
hmm Yeah, because the last music we heard was the Triaxon theme, the typical theme from the actual movie itself. And then it has been nothing up until there's a little bit of a sting of music as Frank bursts into the embalming room where he goes out the door to throw up in the previous minute and all that, but that was only just a small little thing. But this nice rising organ sounding music is definitely a mood setter for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it really feels good. And I just love the scenes that they this everything just looked so awesome when they were
Mhm.
going panning through.
Yeah.
Like,
It's also nice because it's a camera style that we haven't seen them use yet. It's that free floating sort of, and like I said, it's like a slow-mo sort of. It doesn't show all the frames for it, so it's like
yeah.
floats through
And
the
it's not a
sequence.
horrible shaky cam.
No,
That
it's not. It's not, which
not
is also nice
driving me
too.
nuts.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very smooth passover and all that sort of thing, but it's still really nice. The soundscape of the rain still coming down and the music coming up, and then, like I said, the sound of the buried bodies slowly rising is also another nice little
Oh,
treat for the
when they
senses.
break the surface, yeah. I also did really enjoy how he put all the different emotions into each character inside the car. That
Yeah,
was a style that when you first watch it, you don't really pick up on.
yeah. You no, you totally don't. And watching the thing minute by minute, you basically look the scene, pause it, write something up for that, and then when you look up the screen, you realize that everyone sort of has, and you back up a little bit and like, yeah, everyone has a different reacting action to this sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The more you
so
watch it, the more it sinks in that
yeah, for
they're
sure,
they're
yeah.
showing a whole box of emotions from a
hmm
box of characters.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I like that. That's good. Yes. All right, so over on the commentary track, which is with Dan O'Bannon, the director and writer of the movie, and William Stout, who is the production designer. William Stout begins by pointing out the bits of things that are of Ernie's personal items, to which Dan O'Bannon adds joyfully that people have noticed the Ava Braun picture, pointing out the audience is very clever. Uh, they always add stuff to the scenes, thinking that no one will ever see them, but they do. Dan O'Bannon casually mentions that no one has mentioned that strip of flypaper before, and mentions that sometimes you have to overstate things for people to see them at all. Which he'd rather not do. He prefers stuff to get discovered on its own, but also realizing if something isn't overstated, it could become invisible. William Stout then brings up the anecdote about the director Billy Wilder when someone mentioned his use of subtlety in the movies, and he responded with, "Yes, subtlety is a good exception, especially if you hit them over the head with it." And
Yep.
so during the commentary track, Dan O'Bannon and William Stout don't say anything while the camera is flying through the cemetery. We're gonna end that. portion of the movie there. We go to According to the Script. So this is a story and screenplay by Dan O'Bannon. This is the revision from October 1983, and it is based on a story and screenplay by John Russo, Rudy Rickey, and Russell Steiner. So we're going to just start off with the whole entire conversation that Ernie has after he's picked up the phone a second time. So Ernie into the phone. Hello, yes, we'd like to get a paramedic over here. There's a pause. The Resurrection Funeral Home at 21702 East Central. Tell them to come around the back to the embalming room. Pause. Poisoning. We've got 2 men poisoned here. Another pause. No, we don't know what kind of poison. Pause. Right, okay. Ernie hangs up. Ernie continued. They're on their way. Frank and Freddie hold their heads in their hands and moan. Cut to interior Suicide's car, night, rain. Suicide is grinding the ignition. Suicide. This car ain't going nowhere. Kicks it. Casey. Hey, do you hear something? Meet. Hear what? Casey. Something. They listen. Now again, as I keep mentioning, in the script that we're dealing with, the character of Meat turns out to be Spider, and if I ever mention Dee Dee, that is actually supposed to be Trash. So, while Trash doesn't have a line in this particular sequence, we'll just skip that for now. So, we then cut to exterior cemetery, night, downpour. Camera begins to drift over the tombstones. Dozens and dozens of names, dates of birth, deaths, dozens and dozens of gravestones. Distantly muffled behind the rain, we begin to hear a sound. The sound comes from below the ground. Soft, almost too muted to hear. It is the sound of kicking and screaming. Dozens, hundreds of corpses in their coffins, 6 feet down, screaming and kicking. And that's where we're going to end this particular minute because we don't finish off this whole entire sequence, so I won't finish off the last couple of lines for this particular minute.
So one thing, I do really like how they were like fighting, like probably last scene when they were fighting to bring up the soft top, and how frustrating he is frustrated he is with the old car that he's just been abusing terribly.
Yeah.
But it was just, I really enjoy the character interactions of the scene and everything. Like you had already mentioned all the different emotions, but there was a lot of interaction with so much in so little time. Like their ability with the little amounts they had to work with was surprising, because it's like a fan movie done so exceptionally well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we don't spend a lot because we're like 40, like I said, 43 minutes into the movie, and we already understand the relationship between each of the characters. We know how they each individually feel about each other, how they interact with each other, and we're talking like both the punks and the guys working at the warehouse, the Unita warehouse guys, and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
From just the small little amount of time that we have, because we're halfway through the movie, and from the amount of characters that we're given, we understand who interacts better with who and all that sort of thing. Just the way that they like offshoots and all that sort of thing, like 2 of them off to the side over here and another 2 over there and one crosses over and all that sort of thing. We get the combination of why these people work together so well. And yeah, again, like you said, it's amazing how 10 characters we understand how 6 and 4, yes, 10 characters. Greetings, listeners. This is Editor Troy coming to you at this particular minute, and as I'm editing this episode, I am just coming to the conclusion that my math is definitely incorrect. While yes, there are 6 characters in the vehicle, and there are 4 characters in the funeral home, I unfortunately happen to have forgotten to take in consideration Tina, who is in the Unita warehouse. So technically there are 11 characters. Back to the episode. We understand the dynamics of how they work together. and I mean, it's a very well written enough story to allow the actors to live in the characters enough to be able to get across to the audience in such a short time their personalities and their likes and dislikes practically and all that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah.
Oh, they didn't overdo anything, in my opinion, in that
No.
first 40 minutes. Like, there's nothing that was overdone.
No. That's
Because
another thing
something that
about the
happens
movie.
now in the movies. They have a tendency to like drill you with something at least three times to slap you.
Hmm.
This is what it's going to be. Slap. This is what it's going to be. Slap. I'm getting kind of tired of.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. And it's also, I mean, it's a different style of filmmaking. Because of the low budget that they had, and it was on film, they had a limited amount of time and equipment to do this. So they had to make sure everything that they got counts. And when we're talking about that, we're talking about like the work print comparison that I do in every single episode. While they film a bunch of stuff, and like Dan here for the listeners is the one that pointed out the work print to me to have you seen this? And I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking amazing. So like the work print is about 20 some odd minutes longer than the final film, which is understandable because you shoot a lot of stuff. You have longer scenes, and like you've heard in the past, the minutes in the work print are a little longer than the actual
Yeah, they trim it
final.
down because they go, oh,
Yeah,
it's too long, and this
yeah,
was
exactly.
unnecessary, and
Well, this movie being 91 minutes from start to finish is a perfect length for a movie of this kind. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It has a constantly nice moving rhythm throughout the whole entire thing. You never have any slowdown sequences and all that. Even when you're still establishing characters, the movie still moves at a nice pace
which
that allows
really
you.
fit into this musical on like going through the tombstones, slowing down after everything going
Exactly.
so quick. This was
Yes.
the stop. Look what's
Yeah.
happening now.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And again, it's another sequence in the previous minute. Sorry, 2 minutes ago, we ran into a sequence where this is the first time the audience is more aware of what's happening than the characters. Because up until the point where we see the rain dripping down through the ground and onto the shoe of the body in the coffin, the audience was going along, discovering what happens in the movie along with the characters themselves. And when we got the dripping, the audience is the first time that we've now are one up on the cast. And we will be once everyone is aware of what's happening and all that sort of thing, everyone's going to be back on the same page. But it's nice to have that dramatic irony, as we discovered, is what it's called.
Yes, that was the exact term for it. Yeah.
So, according to the work print comparison, which is, like I said, what we do is we compare the final film to the work print and all that. During minute of, which is this particular minute of 42 to 43, in the actual work print, it's minute 47:40 to 48:40. It's basically pretty much shot for shot. It's the exact same sequence. It's just lifted, put out, and all that. I mean, the only difference is that the work print doesn't have the extra sound effects. It doesn't have the music. It doesn't have the you don't hear the moaning, you don't hear the organ a lot soon, but the camera still does the float around and all that. It's got
Yeah.
a little bit of a weirder edit than the final version and all that, but that's again just happenstance between versions and all that sort of thing. But other than that, the work print is minute is exact as the minute that we are currently dealing with. All right. So that being said, that's going to wrap up the particular minute of this podcast. But Dan, you had mentioned that you're our resident zombie watcher. Not big into the horror films, but when it comes to zombie films,
And I can tell you a bunch of those horror movies I didn't watch, but they put out a whole bunch recently. I sat
yes.
through one and it wasn't horror. I couldn't figure out why they tried to suggest it as being suspense and stuff. And I was like, that was lame. And I can't remember because it was not impactful.
There you go. Well, I guess it's if it doesn't stick out, it's not really worth it. But what have you got for us?
So these are recent, and again, these are going to like the first one I believe is from New Zealand, if I remember right. I would have to look it up, but I don't have it on me. But I know it's Generation Z, and this is where we find ourselves in a small town, and there's an event happens.
Okay.
Truck is going down the street, and it's got a load of something chemical, and a tire blows out, and it crashes, and like noxious gas goes into the air and hits a few people.
Oh, so that's same old, same old.
Same old, same old. And then these people go around and they run to a senior citizen's home
Okay.
and bite a few people there.
Okay.
And so it's small town, so everybody knows everybody. So
Right, right.
it's quite a lot of fun. I will say one thing, it doesn't really point it out fast, but it is a nice, and it's not, I don't consider it a spoiler, so I'm sorry if it is, but it has an effect where you don't stay undead throughout the show.
Oh,
So the younger you are, the faster you pass away because you don't eat enough fast enough.
okay. All right.
And the older you are, for the senior citizens, they are energized and have more energy. And these are smart, smart zombies.
Okay.
So they're dead, but they're like thinking, but they're not thinking straight, because obviously they're quite willing to sacrifice their own friends and family to live on and have all this power and energy.
Okay.
But it is a great story. It has a lot of twists that you don't expect in a zombie movie, and it does have what I consider a really different ending than I saw coming, because I thought it was going to be like a one and done, but they have an open ending that just went, oh, that was
Okay.
clever.
Well, that's good to know. All right. All right.
At least I thought it was really clever, and
Okay.
if they do a next one, it could be something amazing.
And where was this found? What
So this would have been Netflix.
Netflix? Okay.
Dropped it up.
Excellent.
Yep. And also new Netflix is Newtopia. And this one's very recent, comes from Korea, and it's still dropping episodes every week. So I think I'm up to episode 8 now. And the anticipation for the next episode is really high for me because I'm very interested in this one.
Okay. That's good to
This
know.
is your classic end of the world zombies, and they're not smart, but damn, they're fast, and they are just eating everything and everyone, and if you get bit, you change. If you die, you're like, if they eat your brain, you're dead, obviously.
Okay.
So there's a lot of, in this one, it starts off, and I'll give you the start because I believe that's the trailer, is there's soldiers up on top of a really grand hotel in a anti-air attack base in
Okay.
the middle of the city.
All right.
Because Korea has to be afraid of North Korea, so they have to be ready for air
Right.
attack.
Right. 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 Yeah.
So it's up there, and they're doing their training, and they're having conflicts with the hotel staff because it's a high-end 5-star, and they're having to get from one top level to bottom level. You have to kind of like transition through, because their elevator on the soldier side is out of order,
Of course.
and so they're passing through, and there's a whole lot of interaction of characters that lead you up to who you like, who you don't like, and you get used to characters, so you don't know who's going to be taken out and who's going to stay, and
Right.
some characters are like really clever and some are like really dumb, and it does things like it's part comedy because there's a lot of comedic in it, so it'll be listed as like a comedy as well because it's definitely not your serious zombie flick.
Okay, so is it like
graphic
slapstick or oh
a
okay.
lot of, it does hit you with slapstick,
Okay, okay, cool. All
but
right.
at the same time it's got a lot of like serious gory stuff going down. Like there is some they have people against people, zombies people against zombies. Some people helping other people. It's got some mental aspects to it that you don't see coming. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Koreans really seem to think outside of the box, and when they grab things, they just, you have an idea, let's throw it in at a completely weird place inside the movie, so you never know.
All right, but that's currently airing episodes, so it's an actual
That's
show
episodic,
itself.
yeah.
Okay, how long are the episodes? Are they hour-long episodes?
They
Roughly?
are about 45 minutes long.
Yeah,
I
so
believe.
roughly, yeah.
And it's dropping from Korea, so it's a once a week Netflix Korean
Okay.
show, and it's dubbed English.
Oh, it's dubbed.
So,
okay.
and it's dubbed pretty well. I'm one of those weird people who likes to have subtitles on. So sometimes I often wonder why they don't say the subtitle line. Why do they have to make up a new line in the English when it's
Gotcha.
no
Yeah.
mouths are seen?
Yeah.
Why did you change it when there's nobody seen? Because I know they change words a lot of times to make it fit their lips a little bit better. And sometimes they do it because the flow. But then there's other times where there's a quote on the bottom and then they're saying a
And
line.
what they're saying,
why didn't you just say that? Like, why are they different?
Yeah.
But aside from like that, and of course, I got a lot of time, so I watch it in Korean and then I watched it in dubbed because I was just having fun. And
okay, so you can watch it in the original Korean then.
Or you can watch it in like 10 different languages.
Okay, cool.
So you can really go to town if you know your languages.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Okay, you got anything else or?
Just those two are the new ones.
Okay,
and
cool.
Previous ones, I don't remember anything, so I can tell you.
Yeah, it has been a while since I've had you on, so yeah.
And I watch a tremendous amount of TV, which is probably bad for me, but I don't really have a lot going down, and I'm lazy, so.
But you do love your Asian cinema and television, don't you?
Asian dramas,
Yeah, Asian
the
dramas,
historical ones, especially when they're doing things that are not actual history, but they're entertaining because, again, whether it's Chinese, whether it's Korean, like they do things that are just so outside the box.
Oh, for sure.
And even then, I could say, yeah, I've watched some horror because I watched their ghost stuff, but their ghost stuff is normally silly slapstick stuff, and
right, yeah.
Demon comes to Earth and he's helping. It's not horror by any stretch.
Gotcha.
The Nine-Tailed Fox is now living with his new girlfriend. That makes total sense.
Of course, yeah. All right, so on that note, I guess we're going to wrap up this particular minute of episodes. This particular episode of this minute, let's put it that way better.
It didn't have a lot for us to work with, but
no. Again,
but what it had was awesome.
It does, yeah, exactly. Like I said at before we started recording, there's not much to focus on, but it's got enough meat in it that you don't realize it's like I wrote out my notes and I'm like, oh, really? Is that it? But yeah, so thank you, Dan, for joining me for this episode. I want to thank the audience for again joining this journey as I go through it week by week. Every once in a while, there's an extra number that jumps up and all that. The YouTube is taking off much bigger than I had ever expected it to, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions about this minute, any previous minute, or any future minute, wherever you're listening to this through whatever podcast or whatever YouTube you're watching, drop a message in that particular comment section, and I'll try and answer you there, or even send us an email at planetgeekpod@gmail.com. We can continue the conversation there, or maybe even roll it into a future episode, because as those that have listened from the beginning, I have like 2 or 3 people that have become temporary guest hosts just because they were a comment leaver and I wanted to get their opinion on the podcast, and they've always turned out to be so far so good. I haven't had a dud yet, so that's always nice. Again, we are still of August 16th, 2025 is when we're going to be trying to do the special episode between recording in front of an audience this particular show and then afterwards viewing the actual movie itself, The Return of the Living Dead, in a movie theater. Hopefully, if I can get enough donations, you guys can just check out our show notes for links to our ko-fi.com slash Planet Geek Pod, where there will be more information about that there. And as I come up to this, once again, thank you, Dan. Thank you, audience. I got nothing else to say, but see you next Wednesday. You've just been listening to a Planet Geek production of Do You Want a Party? A Movies by Minute podcast of the 1985 The Return of the Living Dead. Please be sure to subscribe, download, comment, share, rate, and review. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, or Letterboxd. Search for Planet Geek Productions. X, former Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, search for Planet Geek Pod. Or send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Our closing music is provided by Night Chill. See the show notes for more details. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and farewell, fiends.
There we go.
I was like, wait, I hit the button. Why didn't I hear the voice? All right.
Too bad we can't watch it while we talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's got to be a way that I can bring up the file on here right now, but I'm not going to deal with that right this very second. Okay. With the background of rain still falling upon the soft rooftop. Falling upon the soft top root. Oh my God.
Roof. Yeah.
Yep. Falling upon the soft top roof. There we go. Got it that time. The power of editing. We go to according to the script, which I don't have set up yet. Here we go. There it is. One quick button push away. All right. Is that right? Yep, that is what I got. All right. I thank God for that pause, that mute button. Hey there, Dan?
Yes.
You okay with the coughing coughing there? Was it coughing or sneezing?
I just got over a cold, so
Okay. No, I know what that feels like.
when they there's like a itch in the throat, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean there. Yeah. All right.
Especially that'll be kind of interesting because it's such an old movie too. And then I find it still kind of fits because it didn't really have, even though it lacks the technology doesn't feel missed.
No, it totally doesn't. It totally doesn't. It's something that keeps coming up too. It's a movie of its time. It is set in its era that the movie is filmed in. It's a 1985 movie. It's like with the look, the sound, the costumes, the references, and all that sort of thing. I mean, you can't get any more 80s than talking about acid rain. I mean, like you can't. If you're old enough, you know, right? Yeah. It's just, and it's set in stone at this is an middle of the 80s era movie, and it's just so damn entertaining. So yeah.